There were no signs. It came without warning.
Hello guys, and welcome back to another historical game spotlight. Now today we're going to be taking a look at For Honor. Now I couldn't let this go. For Honor is going to be one of the largest medieval games that we have ever seen. It's a AAA title, it's focused on consoles and PC, and there's no way I could just let this pass. Now until recently I'd passed For Honor off as another one of those money grabbing AAA games. However, looking at it in a lot more detail through many trailers, etc., I think this game could actually have huge potential.
Doom came to us all.
Now I personally had only watched the multiplayer version of For Honor. I actually hadn't seen the single player and the cinematic trailer that actually came out in E3 in June, which was almost 6 months ago.
The desperate few struggled to survive.
Now I never buy games purely on the fact that the single player looks good. I want to see that the multiplayer is just as good as the single player. However, what I intend to do with For Honor is actually jump into the single player straight away, play that, have some backstory, and then jump into the multiplayer and hopefully make quite a few videos on it. I am really looking forward to the release of this game. Now on screen you can see the trailer that we were given at E3, and so far it looks absolutely phenomenal. How they filmed it and how they presented it is blowing me away so far.
Perhaps we had a chance for peace. But desperation and trust are seldom allies.
So first of all, I want to talk about the For Honor single player, as that's what I'm most excited about. Now you can play the single player by yourself going solo, or you can play in a 2-player co-op. Now the fact that this game has a co-op campaign is already attracting me to it. I haven't really played a proper medieval game that has a good storyline, which has a decent campaign with a co-op campaign, so I can actually go and experience it not just by myself, but with one of my friends. This also makes it a lot better for me recording and uploading. I can make it a little bit more entertaining when I'm actually with one of my friends and not just talking by myself. The For Honor campaign is an immersive tale of larger-than-life warriors, and they are plunged into one of the bloodiest wars between knights, Vikings and samurai in recent history.
The reason they fight, lost to the ages.
Now the conflict between the 3 dynasties in For Honor is a result of a cataclysmic event that reshaped the world. Now as we can see, it's an earthquake that basically destroyed where these 3, and as a result of this natural disaster, resources became very limited. So whenever water sources were found, and these 3 dynasties would fight for actual supplies of things such as water and food. Now this led on to hundreds of years of war, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Now basically I'm cutting between me speaking and the trailer's voiceover because it gives you a better understanding of what the story is actually like and the basis to it.
And yet, here they still stand, searching for a sign of peace. I will show them. I am Apollyon. I bring war.
Apollyon's war had taken us to the edge of extinction. But that raider reminded us of who we are.
Now I decided to show you around a minute there without me speaking because it was a very good representation of what is going on. So basically the 3 dynasties were fighting each other after this earthquake, and it's been going on for a millennia now. The apparent aim of Apollyon is to basically defeat all 3 factions and take over the world for herself. Now that would make a lot of sense, and it would also make sense for these factions to band together to actually attack her, Whether or not that will happen as they've been warring for millennia is another story, however that's something that we can look forward to and discover within the campaign. At this point in the stories, the Vikings realise that they are not powerful enough to actually go against her, so for now they're actually attacking the people that they could potentially work with in order to gain food supplies, because their civilization in themselves are starving as the world has been ruined and all their resources have gone. So here you can see them attacking one of the major samurai settlements, and you'll actually be able to play out things like this in the campaign, and to be honest, it looks absolutely phenomenal. Just the way it's presented as well as the gameplay, which we'll see in a second, is just amazing. Also, the reason they're actually attacking this is because there's apparent riches within this fortress, and they want to get them so they can sell them for food, and also they need the food that's actually hauled up there because their civilization needs to survive. Now, the developers of the game embody the greatest warriors of each faction. Now, the players experience some of the most defining moments that lead to the war. Now, they have to deal with manipulation, betrayal, and catastrophic reversal, and they will also need all their wits and skills to ensure victory. So this game isn't just about how good you are in melee, it's also about using your mind. For example, diplomacy I feel like could be quite key in this, because what can actually happen is you could probably band with another faction. Whether that can happen or not, I don't actually know, and then you can rise up to defeat Apollyon. This side of the game would entice me further, actually seeing some development in diplomacy, as well as some other skill sets that aren't just hacking and slashing at some AI. Now, the combat system in For Honor is basically you going through these massive hordes of enemy troops, killing the simple AI, and then you see an enemy hero. That's when you'll lock into a battle scenario where you'll go one-on-one versus that hero. Now, there will be numerous heroes in each campaign siege, and they are probably the most difficult units on the field to actually take on, and these are the ones that are most likely to kill you because the simple AI are fairly easy for your character to kill. However, your AI that you bring to the battle is meant to actually fight the enemy simple AI, whereas you're meant to go ahead and take out the heroes. Now, the combat system appears to have 3 distinctive attack directions and 3 distinctive blocking directions, which appears to be fairly simple. Now, they've described their own combat system as being able to deliver the feeling of true dueling without sacrificing the accessibility and simplicity. It has been created through motion capture by real martial artists and professional stuntman to bring the action to life like never before. So basically what they've done is they've used motion capture, which is where they take a guy, they put these little ball things on him, and then they actually track the motion of an actual person swinging a sword, for example, and then they've put that in the game, so it actually looks really, really fluid and how it may look in real life. Here you can see the defenders have specific defensive weapons that will allow them to deter attackers. For example, they can throw rocks down. There's some sort of catapults, as we saw right at the start. And as we just saw, it looks like you have the ability to throw your weapons. So you can actually kill the person at the top of the walls, jump over, grab your weapon, and start hacking and slashing yet again. Now, at this point in the trailer, we can actually see some further developments in the combat system. So you'll see here, he actually engages this enemy hero, and he does this weird, like, nudge thing. He brings him around, shoves him into that wall, and then he takes out the rest of these AI using kicks, punches, and that looks like there's going to be some sort of combinations of attacks that will allow you to do more damage, maybe disable them, bring them out of their shield beforehand, and then you can actually hit them. Now, this guy's actually being very bold. He picked him up, threw him off the side of the cliff, and that's an instant kill. That's a very good way of eliminating the very overpowered hero units that are obviously better than your normal standard troop, in order to get your dynasty to survive. Next up, I want to talk about each of the factions in a little bit more detail. So obviously you have 3 major factions. Now, the first one are Knights, the second one is Vikings, and the third one is Samurai. And if you haven't picked that up by now, then I'll be very concerned. So within each of these factions you have a certain number of units. So in the Knights faction you have a unit called the Conquistadors. I'm not really sure how you pronounce that. However, these guys are ex-prisoners and they're forced conscripts who have risen to the rank of elite soldier. And these guys are particularly brilliant at defense, as they have their large shield as well as having a short-ranged mace on a chain which can probably smash through armor. Also in this faction you have your stereotypical knights, which are called wardens. These guys are the most powerful noble warriors and they are dedicated to defense of their land and their people. They strike a balance between defense and offense, and they also wear partial plate armor with chainmail and leather. They wield a massive 2-handed longsword for slashing enemies and blocking attacks. they are also trained to be proud, loyal, and brilliant diplomats. Also in the Knights faction, we have 2 other units. These are the Peacekeepers, which look kind of like your light infantry, very quick and very ninja-like, I suppose. And you also have Lawbringers, which look even heavier than the Knight we had previously. They look like they have big warhammers, and just you can faintly see them as the images are grayed out, as they say coming soon, so they haven't actually been revealed yet, and I don't want to talk too much about them. If you would like to go ahead and check them out, make sure to check the link in the description, which will take you to the For Honor webpage. Also in the other factions, there are specific characters which have their own styles of play, and the player can kind of find a variation, play with the one they enjoy most, and master it. Anyway guys, I think that will wrap it up for this For Honor video. This is a basic overview of the game, and there's so much more to it, so if you would like to go ahead and check out more, make sure to check the description for the link to their website, where you can talk about and also look at all the different factions, all the different units, and the story in full detail as well. Whilst I'm on the subject of the campaign, I would like to say that before I heard about this Apollyon stuff, I thought it was just the 3 factions warring each other, and I thought it was kind of a bit repetitive, and I didn't really see how that could be good. However, with the addition of this kind of overlord, it's brilliant, because it's kind of going against what I originally thought. Like, these 3 factions could either war each other, work together, and there's a lot of variation that could actually happen in the story, and there's a lot of directions it should actually go. Overall, I actually really like the appearance of this story, and it will be interesting to see how it develops over time. It appears to be quite simple at the moment, however, I'm sure it will descend into absolute chaos as we get into the story. I haven't talked much about the multiplayer in this game, however, it does have its separate game modes. Like, you have a conquest game mode where 3 players go into one castle with their AI and fight 3 other players. Now, you've basically got to capture certain points, and if you capture all the points, I think you take the castle. And there's a lot of different game modes like that. Again, I may do a separate video on the multiplayer, however, for now, the single player is really what's selling this for me. Also, I do know a beta did come out for Honor, however, I didn't actually get access to it, as I just kind of passed the game on as not being very good. However, looking at it again, it appears to be absolutely amazing. Anyway guys, that will wrap it up for this For Honor video. If you did enjoy, make sure to hit that like button. It really does let me know how much you enjoyed this video. Also, make sure to hit subscribe if you are new here. We're getting close to 8,000 subscribers when I'm editing this video. When this comes out, I don't really know what will be on. Also, I'd like to tell you guys that I intend to do something Christmassy with my channel. Now, if that probably will end up being something to do with Warband, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be doing yet. However, I'm going to be discussing it with my friends, and hopefully we'll come up with something that works really well. Also, make sure to go ahead and follow my Twitter. The link is in the description. You can contact me really easily through there. I'm active. I'm also going to be tweeting out what I'm going to be making videos on, and that will also include my Warband Christmas special, if that will happen. It's not 100% yet, so don't get excited. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an absolutely brilliant day, and I will see you in the next one.